that's one of the tricks that I do. And let's see if I can show you the way with this hook, the way it sits in the water. I don't know if you can see that at all, but that's one of the keys. If you use too heavy of a hook, that worm's just gonna flop down and it's not gonna look natural. You got some leeches in there now too.
Oh, really?
A lot of bait.
What's going on, guys? AJ Gore here, and I'm here with Arizona fishing pro and professional fishing guide Matt Shura. And you know, we've been out here. It's Roosevelt Lake. It's early summer, really, late spring, right around that transition, and a lot of bass are spawning, coming into post spawn. And Matt's been out here. He's been, you know, this is a lake that he guides on a lot, and he's been on to some fish. We did a little bit of top water. Now we're moving into some drop shot. And you know, a lot of people, me, I'm not the greatest drop shot guy. I've drop shot before, I've caught some drop shot bass, but it's not a strong point. So Matt's actually, he's strong with drop shot, and he's kind of a wizard, I guess you could say. So he's gonna kind of give us a little what he does, what he found that works for him at least. You know, with fishing, there's a lot of right ways. Some people say there's wrong ways, but you know, if you're catching fish, that's definitely the main goal. But right here, he's gonna show us what he does to drop shot. And we're gonna be using a medium fast rod. I've got it on a spinning reel. I think I'm using the Megatron there, Royale Legend medium fast action, and 8-pound fluorocarbon line. So Matt, I'm gonna turn it over to you. What do we got going on here?
That was just the regular drop shot rig, and I think everybody knows how to tie it on, but definitely the Palomar knot. You take your tag end and put it back down through the hook. And that's one of the keys, is you want that hook standing up like that, not to the side or anything like that. So that's one of the keys. And I use a size 1 light wire rebarb hook, and I really like, I know a lot of guys nose hook, and that works really well, but we're fishing around a lot of trees. This lake's come up, what, 40-50 foot?
It's come up a ton.
You know, it's come up a lot, so we're fishing in a lot of trees, and I really like to have the weedless approach. But one thing I do is I usually use about a foot leader, a little longer leader. And the one thing I do with the drop shot is I fish it with a lot of slack line and dead sticking. And a lot of people I see throwing a drop shot, they cast it out, let it hit the bottom, and then they just start hopping, shaking and reeling and shaking and reeling. And some of the clients I've taken out, I mean, the bait's never even hitting the bottom. So the number one key is making sure you're on the bottom. And the one thing I do a little bit differently than I think, I just ate a gnat. My lungs did, I got a gnat.
Bloopers, so.
That went right in my throat there. That was awesome.
You got your protein for the morning.
Woo, that tickled a little bit. No, I'm good. Okay. But when you hook this up, the straighter the better. And that's one thing that I really spend a little bit extra time just trying to make it as straight as possible, and make that hook where it pops through, and then just barely skin hook it so it's weedless. So the one thing about this hook that I like about it is when I put it in the water, and I don't know if the camera will show it, that and I dead stick. And dead stick is when I hold the line tight. Excuse me. When I hold the line tight without moving the weight. So basically you're just holding the line tight, and that worm will suspend perfectly horizontally. And then when I give slack line, basically the weight's on the bottom, and that's the one thing I think a lot of people don't realize, is when you start dragging it, the worm's still up here, but if you give it slack, that worm will sink down to the bottom real naturally. And that's a lot of times if there's a fish looking at it, that bait will fall that little, you know, 10-12 inches, and that fish will swim down and pin it on the bottom and eat it. And so many times after slack line, I pick it up, it's just heavy. So that's a really good technique when the fishing's really tough, when you gotta let it sit in front of the fish, like right now. And yeah, just 8-pound line's perfect for trees, that kind of stuff we're fishing. It's plenty of line to get the fish in. But when I'm fishing Lake Pleasant, Mead, Mojave, real clear water lakes and pressured lakes, I drop down to 6 and sometimes even 5. And it makes a difference because the way I fish it, dead sticking and giving it a lot of slack line, if you use too heavy a line, that resistance from the diameter of the line doesn't let that worm sink down naturally. And if you think about a Senko, you know, does it look like a shad? Does it look like a crawdad? It works because of that slow, natural fall. A shad dying does this, a crawdad coming off a rock, you know, that slow, natural fall. So that's one of the tricks that I do. And let's see if I can show you the way with this hook, the way it sits in the water. I don't know if you can see that at all, but that's one of the keys. If you use too heavy of a hook, that worm's just gonna flop down and it's not gonna look natural. So see, when I'm dead sticking, that worm's perfectly horizontal. And that's another thing, if you're gonna shake the bait, you know, people a lot of times want to shake it. If you shake the bait, all you have to do is just barely shake the slack in your line. So I see so many people that I take out fishing, they're just popping. All you have to do is take that slack and just pop that slack, just real gently like that. If you do want to shake, I like to dead stick, drag real slow. Every movement when you pull across the rock should be slow. So just clunk, clunk, clunk the rocks. I'll just hold it for a second, give it some slack, envision that worm sinking down, pick it up real slow, see if anybody's there, and then repeat is what I do a lot of times, and we'll see if we can catch some fish.
Now when you say you pick it up and you see if anybody's there, what do you mean by that? What are you feeling?
Feeling for life. So when the fishing's good and the fish are thumping it and you get thumped or they just rip the rod out of your hand, that's the fishing's good. A lot of times you cast out, you get hit on the fall. Well, in Arizona, especially, you know, some of our tougher lakes, you have to let it soak in front of them. So it's kind of like the fish, you know, we got high pressure, rising barometer now, the fishing's a little slower right now. So with that being said, when I give it slack and that worm sinks down, a lot of times those fish will just eat it because it's there and it's just like, okay, I'm gonna eat it. It's not like they're aggressive, they're not chasing it, they're not aggressive on it. So many times you don't even feel a bite. You just pick up and it's like, it's heavy. And I always kind of make the analogy, it almost feels like you're pulling on a rubber band. You might just feel this. So you just pick up real gently, and if you feel life, reel up, set the hook.
There you go.
And put the handle on the right side. I'm borrowing AJ's rods here. I haven't got my KastKing spinning reels in yet, but I'm excited to get them.
No problem.
Good fish. First fish on a KastKing spinning rod.
There you go.
That's a good fish right there.
Switch me, you get the net.
That might be a good one there. Pulling. Man, I was just dead sticking it too. Whoa. Whoa. Good fish. You don't want to come up.
Nice.
Yeah, he's pulling. Oh no, I thought it was a catfish at first. Oh, these fish are strong. There we go. I felt bigger than that.
Yeah.
Still a nice fish.
Still a nice fish, yeah. Look at that.
Man, I'll tell you, I was just dead sticking, just holding it tight without moving the weight. And I gave it some slack and just picked up, and it was just barely heavy, you know, just heavy. And that's, God, they're strong here, but see how healthy they are? The belly's on them and right in the top of the mouth. That hook just fell out though. Nice Roosevelt Lake bass. And we're just throwing a, this is just a margarita mutilator, roboworm. So drop shot, 1/4 ounce weight, 8-pound fluorocarbon. Nice fish. First fish right here. So we're in 26 foot. We have a couple suspended fish here. You can see the couple weaker signals of some fish here. As that transducer cone comes down, that's the one neat thing about color, is the further away the fish is, the further outside of the cone. Because every 10 foot of depth or so, you get about 2 foot of width you're looking at. So what we're fishing here, and that's what makes it kind of cool, is you can see that grayish blue color is a weaker signal, the yellow is a stronger signal, or the red is a stronger signal, and the yellow is the strongest where the transducer is on the trolling motor. That's when you're right on top of the fish. So let me go back up on the brake line here, and that's basically what we're fishing, is just a drop off, just a little drop off. You see we're in 26 foot, and if I just move a little bit, it'll come back up, and I think the top of it's right around 18 foot. But you can see there's some weak signals of some fish there streaking down. But the weak signals are the bluish gray, the stronger signals are red, and the real strong signals yellow. So if you watch your bait fall down on the graph, and the fish turns from blue to red to yellow, and there's a fish right there on the bottom. And that's all you're looking for is lines. Everybody wants to see arches. And if you're at idle speed or going over the fish, the way that transducer cone comes down, you're gonna get that arch. But if you're just sitting on top of a fish and you're not moving, and it's just bouncing off that fish's head, it's just gonna be a line. But another thing I like to do on the graph is I like to zoom in. So see these fish that are tight to the bottom? There's a couple fish right there. And you can really know they're fish and feel confident they're fish when you see them moving. You see that movement there. It looks like we might have a portion of a tree that we're reading here or something. But the top of this hump's at 18, 19. Then as I back off again, you'll see it drops right off. So that's a great place to target anywhere there's a break line. And you can have a flat, let's make sure it drops off right here. You can have a flat that's you know, miles long. And if you can find one little break line like that, and you got to find that right depth. There's some fish up there suspended, but right where it breaks off is a key area. So anywhere you can find those drop offs, that's a great place to target that drop shot. I do. Yeah.
That's what I was waiting for.
Pulling right there. Get me in a tree. Get out of a tree. He's strong. Oh man, fight like a catfish.
Come back here.
I saw a glimpse of him.
He's a decent bass.
Yeah, I thought he was a lot bigger than that. He's pulling like a big one. Man. Oops. I'm telling you, man, that thing's pulling. They're healthy here. That's a little better fish. We're looking for.
Yeah, you got a little chunk on him.
Oh, he ate that thing. You got some leeches in there now too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, see that? There.
He's...
I've noticed some of that. Felt like a giant. Nice fish. Boy, he ate that
he
thing.
did eat it.
Yeah. Let's see. It might not work. Oh, I got it out. Not even bleeding.
There you go.
Good.